Introverts, how did you meet your girlfriend? She came over to me in a coffee shop while she was on vacation in my country to ask how to tip. We had a 2-hour conversation and then an amazing 5-hour lunch 2 days later. She complained about her hostel and I offered her my spare bedroom. She accepted. Nothing happened, although it seems crystal clear in retrospect that we were falling for each other. Duh. I didn't want to be douchey and make her feel uncomfortable under my roof, so putting the moves on her was not something I seriously considered. 2 nights later, I had to be gone for most of the night on a work assignment, and I asked if she would please watch and walk my dog in my absence. I came home at 5 AM and was greeted by my suddenly very soft, very fluffy dog. She had somehow understood, "Will you please wash my dog?" and apparently didn't find that a strange request at all. The next evening, after we'd been talking over a bottle of wine for hours, it seemed she'd had enough of my apparent indecisiveness, took the wine glass out of my hand, put it down, and leaned in for a kiss. That was 26 years ago. We've been married 23 years. On the Greyhound. During my time in the army I was stationed at Fort Eustis, Virginia. On my way home, Denver, Colorado, at the time, for Christmas I saw her sitting across from, and slightly behind me. Honestly, I didn't pay much attention to her at first, but my buddy, seated next to her, did. After getting shot down repeatedly for a day and a half, he finally got off the bus. Shortly thereafter she came over and sat next to me, and we started talking. After that we got split up, put on different buses, and I kicked myself for not getting her number. Then, when the bus stopped in St. Louis, there she was standing right there in the entrance, almost like she was waiting for me. If my bus had arrived 15 minutes later I'd have never seen her again. Then I found out the bus to Denver was delayed due to snow and wasn't going anywhere for at least 2 days. She hurried over to the ticket counter and had my ticket changed to Des Moines, Iowa, where she was going, so I wouldn't be trapped in St. Louis for 2 days. We spent the next 4 days getting to know each other, then I continued home. We had a long distance relationship for about 6 months, until I came home permanently, by which time she had moved to Denver and rented an apartment. We got married 3 years later and have been together 10 years total. Blind date. That was 10 years ago. The guy who set us up dropped off the face of the earth before I ever had a chance to thank him. After 4 years of no dating following a crushing breakup, a mutual friend called to my attention she was into me. I was oblivious. I didn't know her very well, but I was ready to try again. I wasn't even sure I was very attracted to her, but I figured it couldn't hurt to go out on a date with a nice girl. We hit it off. She's pretty shy, which is why she said she'd never had the courage to try to talk to me. In the course of the first date I'm slowly realizing she's amazing. Many years later, now we have 2 kids, and there's just a lot of love in our lives. My husband is an introvert. I liked him all through high school. We were friends for 13 years. Finally, one day, I looked at him and said, "How come we've never dated? We should date." He said okay. Got married in 2015, had our baby in 2016. At a garage sale. Well, technically my mom's garage sale. My father was a hoarder, but not of old newspapers or glass bottles or garbage. He hoarded consumer goods, tools, CDs, home improvement stuff, camping gear, hunting and fishing stuff. The man had piles and piles of it stuffed into his home, most of it pretty high quality, all bought on clearance. The old man was a sucker for a deal, even if he didn't have a use for it. After he passed away, it fell to us to figure out what to do with a stock of overstocked goods large enough to open a store. So we sold it at rock bottom prices in the front yard, as is tradition. It was a miserably hot summer's day. My mom requested that I come over and help, because the house was on a well-trafficked street, and the sheer volume of stuff meant there would be tons of people. She was right. There'd been a zillion people the day before, and though we'd sold a lot of stuff, there was much more yet to go. And today, I'd put an ad up on Craigslist. It was even busier. It was a long day of haggling with strangers, but at the end of the day, we'd sold 90% of the load, and we were just getting ready to close up and celebrate our success with pizza. Then this car pulls up, and out hops this gorgeous girl. She starts poking around in the CDs first, finds a couple she loves, then waves me over and starts asking about some she's unfamiliar with. Think she thought that, since she'd found a few things she liked, the stuff she hadn't heard might be in the same vein, not knowing it was purchased indiscriminately from bargain bins all over town. I answer as best I can. I hadn't heard most of them, but I was able to steer her to a couple she might enjoy. We kept chatting, and I sort of showed her around in between helping other people who kept showing up. There was definitely an instant attraction, and some really great conversation. She had to get going, so I made her a sweetheart deal on the stuff, and helped her to her car. She got in, drove away, and then I realized I hadn't gotten her number. My brother and my neighbor had a field day at my stupidity. But she told me where she worked, at a restaurant down the road, and she told me the days she was usually scheduled. So I did something very unusual for me and pursued it. Friday afternoons, I'd drive over from my office and ask to sit in her section. The food was terrible, but she'd stop and chat as long as it wasn't busy, and I caught her mirroring a few times. So on my third visit, I told her I'd love to see more of her and asked for her number. 10 years, a marriage, and a child, and we are still head over heels for each other. So I guess I owe my dad for the posthumous hookup. I've known this girl for a decade now, which I have had a crush on for the longest time. Just recently, in a drunken state, she confessed she's been in love with me for years, and yet every time the topic has come up about relationships I've matrix dodged my way out. But not anymore. As of tomorrow I'm going to try and ask her out. I've never been so scared in all my life. Pray for me. Update 1. I decided to send her a link to the thread for a topic starter, then, like an awkward cliché, continued to ask her out over Messenger. Her reply was for me to wait until she has properly woken up and had cuddles her cat. Now we play the try not to have a panic attack while waiting game. Update you guys again in a few hours. Update 2. It's a complete role reversal. She's now worried about what if it doesn't work out. She wants to talk in person now. Hopefully we can hash it out today. Final update. We are all going to be left in suspense. Due to shitty luck, our talk won't be happening until the weekend. I might make a post about this on Reddit somewhere after it's ended with the final verdict, but until then, we wait. Limbo. We finally managed to get a day off work and meet up. The talk mostly consisted of us going round in circles, so to cut a long story short, she didn't want to say yes because of the fact that ultimately nothing will change between us. She's scared that if the relationship doesn't work out it will end up ruining our friendship and I'll just be like another one of her exes. However, she didn't want to say no either, so I still might have a chance. Introvert BF, Tinder. His picture was him hanging upside down from a tree and his bio said proof that nerds grow on trees. We both made it clear we were looking for a relationship, met up the day we matched for coffee, hit it off, and that was that. The thing with introverts is, it's difficult to keep a conversation going until, that is, you find this one subject they are most passionate about. It's not long ago I shared how I met my husband. He's the introvert. He kept coming into the bar I worked, and I kept asking him questions trying to get a conversation going. But L kept hitting a wall. It didn't stop me from trying though. It confuses me to think back on, because I was also very annoyed with him. But anyway, after asking about so many things, I finally on day 4 asked him about books, and the boy never shut his mouth thereafter. So to all introverts out there, asking questions is difficult, but you're all passionate about something, whatever it is. Lead the conversation towards that one subject that you feel confident talking about. Then all the rest will come more easily. I can't believe my husband didn't ask, so do you read any books? Who's your favorite author, when he's so passionate about them? For 4 days all we did was me, question, him, answer, me, question. I'm a female, but I'm very introverted. I met my now husband at the gym. I would always work out with my brother and my now husband thought I was dating my brother because we were always at the gym together. When he asked my brother how long we had been dating, we both looked at each other and said UHH. We are siblings so never. He asked my brother if we could all work out sometime, and I went full on awkward when we did. He was showing me a new workout and he almost smashed my face in with a dumbbell. I walked off because I was so embarrassed and started working out alone. Then he asked me out to lunch and we hit it off. Edit, reworded a sentence. He was in the corner, drinking a bottle of water. I noticed him immediately and I noticed him noticing me for the better part of an hour. I finally just walked up to him after I figured he was too shy to approach me. We chatted for about 2 hours and then left. Later in school, we exchanged our AOL screen names, and that after weeks of random chat sessions, he finally worked up the courage to ask if I wanted to see a movie, Harry Potter match. During the date, he didn't say anything but I noticed him very fidgety, so I decided to hold his hand. After the movie, we were sitting in his car in silence, and he was fidgety again, so I grabbed his face and kissed his cheek. He turned completely red, but was grinning ear to ear. In person, he had trouble stringing sentences together, but online we would chat for hours. He had to express his love via email and cuddling without saying a word. We first met over 14 years ago, bought a house together, and getting married in October. Going to Disney and Universal for our honeymoon/celebrate Halloween. It's pretty much amazing. As we get older, he's gotten much more vocal, but I still do most of the talking and socializing. We do a squeeze when holding hands to mean love you. If we don't want to talk, love him to pieces.